Have you ever imagined what it feels like to have your body betray you not slowly over years, but suddenly, cruelly, in a moment when you're entirely alone? Picture this: your home, maybe sipping tea in the quiet of your living room. The morning sun slants through the curtains. Then, without warning, your hand slips from the cup. You try to speak, but your words won't come. Panic flutters in your chest. Something is wrong, terribly wrong. But there's no one beside you, no one to ask, no one to help. Just you and a clock that has already started ticking against you, for millions over the age of 60. This isn't a hypothetical. It's a lurking possibility. A stroke or heart attack doesn't wait for someone to be there. It doesn't care if your kids live far away, or your neighbors are at work, or your phone is out of reach. And when you're alone, those first 5 minutes are everything. They determine whether you walk again or don't, whether your voice returns or is silenced, whether you live or you don't. That's why this video isn't just information. It's your armor. It's your emergency plan. It's the 5 things you must know, the habits you must build, and the mindset you must embrace so that if the unthinkable happens, you aren't helpless, you're prepared. Because survival isn't just about medicine, it's about readiness. Let's begin with the most critical truth. Recognizing the signs and acting immediately, not later, not after. Another cup of tea, not after waiting to see if it goes away. Immediately. Let me ask you if you suddenly felt a numbness in your face, or couldn't move one arm, or found it hard to speak. What would you do? Would you panic? Would you freeze? Would you try to convince yourself it's nothing? That pause, those seconds of doubt are exactly what a stroke thrives on. The longer you wait, the more of your brain is damaged. You don't need to feel intense pain. You don't even need to collapse. Most strokes start quietly, just confusion, dizziness, difficulty understanding speech, or feeling like one side of your body isn't cooperating. Likewise, a heart attack might feel like mild discomfort in your chest, or shortness of breath, or just a sense of unease. You might break into a cold sweat or feel faint. And the worst part, many seniors mistake these signs for something minor like indigestion, fatigue, or just feeling off. James didn't. He was 73, a retired teacher, reading his morning paper when he noticed a strange tug in the left side of his face. His coffee spilled as his hand trembled. But instead of ignoring it, he dialed emergency services. Immediately, that decision saved his life, and more than that, it preserved his ability to speak, walk, and remain independent. The harsh truth is, strokes and heart attacks are brutal, but they're also beatable if you act fast. The brain loses millions of neurons every minute during a stroke. Think about that. Every minute. That's your memories, your language, your balance, your independence draining away as you hesitate. And yet, so many don't call for help. They're scared, or embarrassed, or worried they might be bothering someone if they're wrong. That fear is understandable, but it's also fatal. This isn't about pride. It's about your life. 1. Recognize the warning signs and act immediately. Stroke signs: sudden confusion, speech difficulty, numbness on one side. Heart attack signs: chest pain, cold sweat, dizziness, shortness of breath. Act fast delay causes irreversible damage. Keep emergency numbers handy. Use medical alert devices if possible. So here's your first life-saving commitment. Educate yourself on the early warning signs and rehearse your response. You don't need to be a doctor, you just need to be fast. Know the signs, trust them, and act. No second guessing, no waiting for someone to confirm it. You are your first responder. Have emergency numbers posted clearly. Keep a phone nearby at all times. Consider a medical alert device if you're often alone. It's not overkill, it's preparation. And most importantly, make a decision now. That if something feels wrong, you will act. Not tomorrow, not after a nap, right then. Because one day, that decision might be the only thing standing between you and a very different life. **. 2. Use self-help techniques. Practice cough CPR during a heart event to maintain blood flow. Perform slow, deep breathing to stay calm and increase oxygen. Action is better than hesitation. Don't fear doing it wrong. Train mentally to respond with confidence even when alone. **. Let's say the unthinkable happens. You've recognized the signs. You know it's real. You're alone. There's no one to drive you, no one to steady you, and the ambulance is still minutes away. What now? You might feel frozen. You might feel terrified. But here's what I need you to remember. You are not powerless. This is the part most people never talk about, the stretch of time between calling for help and help actually arriving. It's short, maybe 10 minutes, maybe 20, but during those minutes, you have more influence over your survival than you realize. Let me introduce you to Helen. She's 78, lives alone. One afternoon, while organizing old photo albums, she felt a crushing tightness in her chest. She knew this was no heartburn, but instead of panicking, she remembered something she'd heard in a community workshop. Cough CPR. It sounds simple, and it is. But it's also misunderstood. The idea is this: when your heart is out of rhythm and you're starting to lose consciousness, a series of strong, deliberate coughs performed every couple of seconds can keep blood flowing long enough to keep you conscious until help arrives. It's like giving your heart a nudge to keep going. Helen started coughing forcefully. Repeatedly, she dialed 911 between coughs. That technique may have saved her life. Now, let's be clear. Cough CPR is not a substitute for defibrillation or advanced medical care. It doesn't work for every kind of heart attack, but in those early moments, it can buy you time. Time to stay awake. Time to breathe. Time for help to find you alive. What else can you do? Breathing techniques. When a stroke or heart attack strikes, your body floods with panic. Your chest tightens. Your thoughts race. But panic is your enemy. It spikes blood pressure and puts even more strain on your heart and brain. So you need to calm the storm. Deep, steady breaths through the nose. Hold. Then a slow, controlled exhale through pursed lips. This does more than calm your nerves. It helps oxygenate your blood, regulate your pulse, and maintain consciousness. It's not just emotional control. It's biological strategy. These aren't complicated techniques. But the reason they work is because they anchor you in the present moment, where you can still act. When you're scared and alone, taking control over even one thing, your breath, your actions gives your body a fighting chance. Let me tell you a secret most people overlook. Preparation isn't about strength. It's about rehearsal. You don't need to be fearless, you just need to be ready. So practice right now. Try the cough. Breathe deeply. Visualize yourself staying calm, dialing for help. You're training your body and mind to respond instinctively when it matters most. Because you don't rise to the level of your expectations. In a crisis you fall to the level of your preparation. Helen survived because she had a plan. She didn't wait for someone else to save her. She remembered her breath, her cough, her training, and she saved herself. That's not luck. That's readiness. So here's your second commitment. Learn simple, safe self-help techniques and practice them until they're second nature. Don't just watch this video and nod. Try it. Build the muscle memory. Make it real. Your life might one day depend on how well you remember what you're learning right now. 3. Learn to trust early warning signals. Don't ignore subtle symptoms. Fatigue, nausea, or pressure may be serious. Know what's normal for your body and what's not. Prior awareness leads to quicker action and better outcomes. Discuss risk factors and warning signs regularly with your doctor. Not all danger announces itself with blaring sirens. Sometimes it arrives in silence, in a slight tightness across your chest, a moment of confusion as you search for the right word, or a strange heaviness in your arm that feels more annoying than alarming. These moments, subtle and often ignored, are the body's whispers. And if you learn to listen, you can change your fate. This part isn't about drama. It's about awareness. A heart attack or stroke doesn't always begin with you collapsing to the floor. In fact, most don't. They begin with something that can feel as ordinary as a bad night's sleep or an off day. But here's the truth. Your body knows when something's wrong, and it tries to tell you. The challenge is that we've been conditioned to dismiss discomfort. Especially as we age, we expect aches, pains, dizziness. We say, it's probably just my blood pressure, or I'll feel better after a nap. But these assumptions are dangerous. They delay action. They tell us to wait when our bodies are begging us to act. Let me introduce you to Carl, 75, retired teacher. Healthy, active, sharp as a tack. One morning, he felt a pressure in his chest, not pain, not a sharp jab, just a pressure, like someone pressing a hand gently against his sternum. He felt slightly dizzy, a little nauseous, but instead of brushing it off, Carl did something remarkable. He trusted his instincts. He sat down, focused on his breath, picked up the phone, called for help. The paramedics later told him that his quick decision likely prevented a full-blown cardiac arrest. The treatment he received came just in time. Carl walked out of the hospital 2 days later with no permanent damage. What saved him wasn't luck. It was awareness. It was the decision to value his health more than his pride, more than his convenience, more than his fear of overreacting. And here's something you need to know. The signs of stroke and heart attack often overlap with other, less critical issues. That's what makes them dangerous. A stroke may start with numbness in the face, trouble speaking, or a sudden headache. A heart attack may begin with fatigue, jaw pain, or an upset stomach. They don't all come with textbook symptoms, which is why you must know what's normal for you and what's not. Have you felt this sensation before? Is it different? Does it feel off in a way that worries you? If yes, don't negotiate with it. Act. Too many people have lost their lives because they waited to be sure. But by the time you're sure, the damage is already done. This is why I recommend keeping a symptom journal. It sounds simple, but it's a powerful tool. Write down what you experience regularly. Track your blood pressure, energy levels, any odd sensations. That way, if something new appears, something your body hasn't felt before, you'll spot it faster. You'll know when to pay attention. And don't keep this knowledge to yourself. Share it with your family, your friends, your caregivers. Teach them the signs. If they know what to look for, they may notice symptoms you don't see, especially if your speech slurs or your behavior changes. But ultimately, the responsibility is yours. And I want you to see that not as a burden, but as power. Power to act early. Power to stay ahead of danger. Power to protect your independence. So here's your third commitment. Trust your instincts. More than your fears. Take symptoms seriously even if they seem small. Don't wait for pain to become unbearable. Don't let embarrassment cost you minutes you don't have. You don't need to be sure. You just need to act. Because your body whispers before it screams, and the best chance you have is to listen before it's too late. For body positioning and breathing matters. Sit upright or slightly forward to reduce heart and lung strain. Avoid lying flat unless necessary. Use breathing techniques, e.g. inhale through nose, exhale through pursed lips. Helps maintain oxygen flow, lower panic, and stay conscious. Keep your phone within reach at all times. Asterisk when danger strikes and you're alone, every decision matters. But here's the part most people overlook. Not everything that saves your life comes from medicine. Sometimes it comes from how you sit, how you breathe, how you hold your body while you wait. Because the moment your heart struggles or your brain begins to lose blood flow, your posture and your breathing aren't just comfort, they're strategy. And this strategy can mean the difference between staying conscious or slipping into something far worse. Let's return to Helen, the grandmother we met earlier. She didn't just survive her heart event with cough CPR. She also survived a mild stroke later that year. It happened in the kitchen. One side of her body went weak. Her face felt odd. And this time, she knew she couldn't cough her way out of it. But she remembered something else from that health seminar: positioning and breathing. So she moved slowly, sat herself down on a low bench, leaned slightly forward, elbows on her knees, an instinctive move that made it easier to breathe, helped her remain upright, and reduced pressure on her lungs. Then she focused on her breath. Inhale through the nose. Hold. Exhale through pursed lips. Repeat. Slowly, calmly, repeatedly, until help arrived. This isn't random advice. There's biology behind it. When you sit upright or lean slightly forward, it helps expand your lungs. It allows gravity to assist, not fight, your circulation. It keeps your airway open and relieves pressure on the heart. On the other hand, lying flat, especially on your back, can make symptoms worse. It can restrict airflow, worsen dizziness, and even cause aspiration if you vomit. If you must lie down, say you feel too weak to sit, try lying on your side, especially the unaffected side if it's a stroke. This helps prevent choking and can keep your airway more stable. And your breath? That's not just about relaxation. It's your body's way of sending oxygen where it's needed most. But in moments of panic, people often hyperventilate fast. Shallow breaths that starve your body of oxygen and make you feel dizzy. So what you need is the opposite: slow, deep, deliberate breathing, control, rhythm, calm. There's a psychological bonus, too. Taking control of your body, even in small ways, sends a signal to your brain: I'm not helpless, and that belief can fight off fear, keep you conscious, and preserve the mental clarity needed to communicate clearly when help arrives. Here's a practical habit. Practice this posture every day. Sit forward. Breathe deeply, even just a few times a week. You're not just training muscles, you're installing instinct. So that if your world tilts suddenly and you feel yourself sliding into danger, your body knows exactly what to do before. Your brain catches up. And keep a phone within reach at all times. Ideally, on your body, because everything else you do won't matter if you can't call for help. So your fourth commitment is this: learn how to position your body and breathe to buy yourself precious time. You don't need medical gear. You don't need perfect strength. You just need awareness, posture, and breath, because sometimes sitting the right way and breathing with purpose can hold the line between life and death. 5. Speed saves lives. Don't hesitate. Time equals survival. Minutes matter. Call emergency services immediately. Educate family and caregivers about stroke, heart attack symptoms. Prepare a clear plan: phone access, neighbor alerts, emergency numbers. Asking for help is strength, not weakness. Asterisk: if there's one truth that could be etched in stone, it's this: every minute matters. Not metaphorically, not as a slogan, literally. Because in the world of heart attacks and strokes, time isn't just a number. Time is tissue. Time is your life. The faster you act, the more of yourself you preserve: your speech, your movement, your memories, your independence. But here's the catch: knowing that isn't always enough. Because what often stops people isn't ignorance, it's hesitation, fear, embarrassment, denial. And this final part is about tearing those barriers down. Let me tell you about Robert, age 72, widowed, lived alone, healthy for the most part. One morning, he felt strange, drained, like he hadn't slept, even though he had. His chest didn't hurt, but it felt tight, not sharp, but enough to notice. He could have told himself it was nothing. He almost did, but something in him remembered what his doctor had once said: fatigue and chest pressure are sometimes the only signs. So he called. That decision saved his life. He was having a non-STEMI heart attack, a kind that doesn't always come with textbook pain, but can be just as deadly. Because he acted fast, doctors were able to intervene, restore blood flow, and minimize damage. His recovery full, his independence intact. Now imagine if he'd waited. And that's the sobering truth. Most people wait. They wait to see if it passes. They wait until it gets worse. They wait because they don't want to make a scene or bother anyone. But strokes and heart attacks don't care about manners. They punish hesitation. Here's the science. Clot-busting drugs, the ones that restore oxygen to your brain during a stroke, are most effective within the first 3 to 4.5 hours of symptom onset. After that, their benefit plummets. In heart attacks, every 30 minutes of delay increases your risk of death by 7%. And yet, the average person waits over 2 hours before seeking help. That's not a failure of knowledge. That's a failure of mindset. And that's what we're changing here. This isn't about being brave. It's about being decisive. It's about understanding that calling for help isn't weakness, it's self-respect. It's the belief that your life is worth interrupting someone else's day. That you're allowed to ask for help, that you deserve to survive. Too often, seniors tell themselves, I don't want to cause a fuss. But let me ask you, if your grandchild were in danger, would you want them to hesitate? No. So why should you? That's the final lesson. Hesitation is a luxury you can't afford. Not when it comes to strokes. Not when it comes to heart attacks. Not when every second is costing you part of your future. So here's your final commitment. Make the decision now that you will act at the first sign. No matter what. Even if it's subtle. Even if you're unsure. Even if you feel silly afterward. Because feeling silly is survivable. Delay is not. And if you take nothing else from this video, let it be this. Your instincts matter. Your life matters. And you have every right to fight for it with everything you've got. You made it to the end, and now you know something most people don't. Not just facts, but real, actionable tools. You've seen what it takes to survive a stroke or heart attack when no one else is around. And more importantly, you've seen how much power you actually have, even in your most vulnerable moments. It's not about being a hero. It's not about being fearless. It's about being prepared, about replacing fear with instinct, doubt with action, isolation with self-respect. Here's the real truth. You are your own first responder. Before the sirens, before the stretcher, before the doctors, you are the one who can tip the balance toward life. With your breath, with your posture, with your voice, dialing those 3 numbers, with your decision to act the moment something feels wrong. Some people walk away from a medical emergency with their dignity, their independence, and their life intact, not because they were lucky, but because they were ready. And now, so are you. You've learned how to recognize the subtle signs of a stroke or heart attack, even when they don't look dramatic. Respond with confidence, not hesitation. Use cough CPR and breathing techniques to stay conscious and stabilize your body. Position yourself to reduce strain and improve oxygen flow. Prioritize action over embarrassment and call for help. At the first signal your body sends. You've met James, Helen, Carl, and Robert not just as stories. but as proof that awareness saves lives. They're not extraordinary people. They're prepared people. And now, so are you. Don't let this video fade into the background of your mind. Rewatch it. Practice what you've learned. Share it with someone who lives alone. Print a list of the signs. Post emergency numbers by your door. Make a plan and make it real. And most of all, give yourself permission to act. You deserve help. You deserve life. You deserve to see another day not by chance, but by choice. So when that moment comes, if it ever does, you won't freeze. You'll remember, you'll breathe, you'll act, and because of that, you'll survive. Preparation is not paranoia. It's power when you're alone and every second counts. Knowledge becomes your lifeline. Don't wait for the worst to happen. Train now, trust yourself, and act with the certainty that your life is worth protecting because it is.